7:04. We'll start with a roll call over here.
Matt Garrison.
Alicia Kingsbury.
Rodney Phillips, alternate.
Danielle Bosco.
Stanley Prescott.
Jeff Green. Mark Griffin.
Forrest Green.
Stephen Kane, alternate.
All right, we'll start with, oh, do I do that before? We do before? Oh. Julie is here from Conservation. We'll start with meeting minutes. So we have 3. Should we do this one now or then?
No.
Okay. The planning board, zoning amendment workshop minutes.
So I think after the last meeting that we have to make that adjustment in the wording. From what he thought he had said so that it makes sense in the,
Maybe if you need to.
I'm not concerned about it.
Yeah, I
just
think
in
it
the minutes,
reflects generally.
because it hasn't become
Okay.
formal yet.
Yeah,
So it's close enough that I think we'll
I think so.
Okay.
we'll work with it.
Good thought.
Yeah.
I made the note on mine, so it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I did
Didn't make
too.
sense otherwise.
Yeah.
Any other changes?
No, I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the zoning amendment workshop minutes of September 18th.
Second it.
Motion made by Jeff, seconded by Stanley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. That's not the paper I'm trying to get rid of. The regular meeting minutes of September 18th.
Danielle, I had Danielle.
Oh, sorry.
I had to
I have
add
one-
the
one
but I already
correction.
changed it. I already changed it.
I have a correction on the planning board meeting.
Yep.
Yes, I was present, yet I'm not marked as present.
Oh, okay.
Aye. A good one.
Anything else? Looking for a motion to approve.
So, I guess one thing, mine says that you were there, Danielle, and then
Oh.
it says was not present next to it.
Right.
She did change it.
Okay.
Yeah,
did
I
see it.
printed out 11 copies.
Okay.
And she didn't want to waste
Okay,
11
that's fine.
more.
I just wanted to make sure that.
I wrote in on everybody's.
Okay, so,
That's a
okay.
lot of
I just wanted to verify because I
I didn't
saw
want to
it.
waste more
Okay.
paper.
Then I would make a motion to accept the meeting minutes with the one change that we add Stephen's name to the attendance.
Okay.
A second.
Thank you.
Motion made by Forrest.
I'll second that.
Second by Matt.
No,
Already did.
seconded by Matt,
I
sorry.
was waiting to see how long it was gonna take her to remember my name. That's why I was just sitting over here waiting. I saw
All
it.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Can I ask a question? Are we live because the TVs aren't on?
Oh.
We just didn't turn them on.
Can we
I
turn
don't
them
need
on?
I don't wanna look at myself tonight.
I like to see where the camera's at.
Oh, yeah, I don't have
Do you
to.
want to do?
Then we know when it's on the audience.
Danielle.
Make sure you get the angle right, Rodney.
Still an alternate or am I voting?
It's like the TV
You
at your house, you
are
gotta have it just
still
right.
an alternate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, buddy.
So the minutes of the
Gotta focus.
master plan subcommittee on September 23rd, 2025.
Is this for the master plan?
Yeah.
Yep. The three
Mentions like, what, line 15, 16, Matt Garside? Was he in attendance?
He
Because
came
he's
in.
not listed. Or was he in the audience? Just
Thanks, I didn't even notice that, I just read it and I was like, ah, seems about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Add him to the attendance.
Lindsay's very busy, stop harassing her.
Yep.
they're busy, Mom.
You were late, see? The roll call attendance was
Yeah,
correct.
it was late.
Oh, okay, that's true, I was late.
That's what it was.
I'm gonna write Matt late.
Matt late.
Anything else? I will look for a motion to approve.
Approval is amended.
Motion made by Stanley,
I'll second that.
seconded by Forrest. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Abstain.
Just one, yes. Okay. Now we can get into the actual meeting.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Just in case anyone is here for there's two applications for Barbara Young, a subdivision, a lot line adjustment, and they did ask for a continuance. So if anyone is here for that,
They're not.
Looks like
we are not hearing it tonight.
Next month.
Okay, do you know when?
Next month.
Next month?
See the 20th of November.
November.
Sorry to make you come
20th.
out.
Thank you.
Third
I wasn't sure
Thursday.
if I heard a 22nd, like, I don't know, my brain, I was like, did I hear?
So yeah, we will hear that application next month. Sorry. Right?
That's amazing.
Okay. Then we have application 25-06 Premier Roofing, map 1, lot 23, site development. If you could state your name for the record.
Good evening, John Roque with Roque Consulting.
While you do that, I'm just gonna ask the rest of my questions.
Thank you.
Another one?
Are there any butters
one's
to
got
this
color,
property? Can you state your name?
Philip Brown, 103 Samuel, just to the west of where the proposal is being discussed.
Okay?
Yeah, yeah. it is.
It wasn't on these.
Oh, I did not hear that.
Who was the second one? Lloyd McCarthy.
If it's not a new, I don't need to.
It shows now.
Perfect. We'll open the public hearing at 7:11. The light, I'm gonna move that clock one bit.
That's okay.
All right, you have the floor.
Good evening, again, John Roque with Roque Consulting. I'm here on behalf of Premier Roofing this evening for the continuation of our site plan process. One of the big things, thank you very much for some of the continuations I've asked for. I needed some time to get through the ZBA, which we did recently. We went to the ZBA and we had asked for a reduction in the front setback from 50 to 25 feet. And what we had done, based on our site walk, we had gone to the ZBA and we'd asked for basically a 25-foot green space so that all of the gravel other than driveways into the site were outside of the, we were 25 feet away from the property line on our plan. After we finished the public hearing and it was closed in deliberations, the ZBA made the determination that this is considered the driveway, the entire loop. So they said no relief at all is required for any of the driveway as you come in and go around and back out again. That was actually the determination Bill Lake had made during the summer before we had gotten into this situation, but the ZBA, after we had closed the public hearing, they never brought it up at all during the public hearing, but that was the determination that they made and they said that's what we're doing. So what they did is they said, they decided to give us 10 feet of relief. So we now have a 40-foot setback to where vehicles are parked, and they consider the rest of the loop just driveway. That doesn't require to meet any setback at all. So what we did after that meeting is I realigned everything. We measured trucks, how long they are with the truck and the trailer hooked up. A 45-foot long space works fine for the truck and trailer hooked up. And we've actually, if you've gone by there recently, Alicia has been having them back in with the truck and trailer hooked up. So we know that they can drive in, they can back up and be parked within the area that we have to work with. One thing I did is I actually took the shed, it's a movable shed, so I took the shed and I moved it down over here next to where the future garage could be. Alicia has said a couple times that if there's issues that you guys have with the garage, she isn't necessarily like married to having a garage there. Like that could easily just be taken off. She doesn't need the garage there with everything we've been doing. She doesn't actually need the garage, but it's something that is a good placeholder in case she would ever decide to do it. Basically, I double checked turning radiuses. You can come in and do basically not a full semi. There's never going to be a full semi that comes in here, but a reasonable truck, whatever they have bringing material in, can actually come in, make the loop, and go back out again with what we have for turning radiuses. These are the exact locations that we have driveway permits for. So based on the ZBA approval we had and the driveway approvals we have from the town of Loudon, everything that we moved basically away from this side and organized over here. During site walks and previous meetings, everything was limited to 4 spaces total, which we have 4 spaces total. We're at a point right now that everything that has been asked for us by either board is on this plan and is as conforming as we've ever had it at any meeting. So we're trying to get everything to fit the boxes we're being put in. So, and I think we're there at this point. That's where we're at. I know there's some disagreement with what the ZBA said, but that they did it completely unilaterally, other than what I had asked for. So. I can answer any questions anyone has or clarify anything more, further.
So, yeah, so the question that I had, and Stanley asked me if I thought, the one that you passed out to us, is that any good? Is this the same as what's supposed to be here?
Yes.
Because it's different.
It's different.
What do you mean?
I don't see any retention ponds shown on your grading plans that you submitted. The green one shows one in the corner. Also, it shows the parking going outside of the yellow parking area on the green one up there.
Yeah,
So we're just trying to, we were looking at your presentation one, and it shows stuff, but it's not on the plan set.
What is going?
According to my ruler,
me see.
these parking spaces are longer than the ones that were in the packet. See how the parking space on that line right there is going over that line?
over the red box.
These are longer than this.
Just
I think
on the
these are
front.
correct. I think these are wrong.
They did it here.
But then they're on the,
What is on?
Yeah.
Here's the sheet. This is correct.
yeah, so then on the grading drainage
If you
is,
look up here, you'll see that they go beyond.
yeah, hey, take my, yeah, you need it. That's the grading drainage. It shows no ponds.
Is there a large set that's one of the regular large sets? I had a completely different printing company do my.
John.
Right there.
This is a completely different printing company than this one.
Than what you've been using?
Yeah.
Trying out somebody new.
Hold on.
Yeah, there's not one here. Yeah, that was one of my questions.
That's what we're questioning.
Yeah.
Ironically, the green one is by far the most accurate. I've always had that's something we've talked about multiple times, is the detention pond that I
Right.
graded in down on the
Right, we
end.
talked about that, but
Yeah.
the problem is
Yep.
this one isn't, we can't really talk
Yep,
about
no,
this
no.
one. Because it was just passed
Yeah,
to
it's
us,
just
Okay.
but it is in front of us.
Yep.
So, I mean, I understand it, but I just don't know, if we don't have the correct plans to look at, I don't know if we can,
We're not gonna approve it.
yeah, I don't know.
We could do it.
Okay, so let's,
Because, because we're looking at, what we're trying to.
We can't look at this plan, we have to look at this plan.
so anyway,
Did that pass on the plan? Those are my plans.
So,
And no, look at it.
Yeah, no, the little ones. Those are mine. He just installed them.
Oh, darn, we're almost there.
So if you look on the fourth page of what you do have in front of you, there's clearly a detention pond detail of everything I was
That's what was confusing.
planning on doing, which should be on there. That's something we talked about before, and I'd actually turned in a drainage report over the summer. Everything has been submitted for the detention pond down on the bottom. So really, when we were at our last site walk meeting, one of the by far the largest issue was the parking and the number of spaces
Yeah.
and landscaping along the road. So what we got from the ZBA was a 10-foot reduction, so we have 40-foot, which we can put parking spaces at an angle, the 4 spaces. And that's mainly the biggest thing that we have to make sure that you guys agree with that scenario and what the ZBA has granted for a variance or a special exception so far. And we do have to talk about the landscaping of what would be out front. Right now I have like the 4 trees that I had on the plan before that Russ was kind of okay with as long as they were back off the road. If you guys want more landscaping in that area to make up for what we're doing, then that would need to be a revision to the plan regardless, for you guys to do a final approval.
My personal opinion is, I know we had this discussion, but I think the 4 parking spaces as it's configured is really not the intent of our regulations. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
We've basically taken and said,
Nope.
oh, we're just gonna double the size of the parking spaces so we only count 4. So, it's my personal opinion.
there's no measurements though in the,
No, but
right?
I think the
the
intent,
intent,
so my interpretation of it is the intent of it is to only have 4 vehicles. And then we'll still have the 4 vehicles, so I personally feel okay. It's a truck and a trailer.
it's 2 vehicles.
Yeah. They're
Well,
separate.
I mean, but you could look
registered
at a
separate.
tiny little compact car and a great big
Well,
F-350 and they're not gonna fit in the same spot either,
Right, but we're
so.
looking at it as they are asking us to allow the commercial business. And the concrete plant got submitted with longer parking spaces for their trucks and shorter parking spaces for their cars. So the length of it was based on, and I do agree that it's pushing it because of the way you're angling it and trying to squeeze them in there and everything, but if the
The whole
work
thing's-
vehicle for that business is a truck and a trailer and every one of them has one, and they're fitting it in there, then that's, I guess, what we gotta determine is whether it fits the requirement.
I think it's and I agree with you.
Yeah.
You know, when you're
Yeah.
looking at Benevento, it's accepted that there's.
Right.
But
I
think
agree.
This is a major home occupation, a commercial business in a residential area. I think
Yes.
that's the thing I have.
Right, right.
You know, personally.
Well, that's what we're trying to protect, is the
Yeah.
residential
Right.
nature of the neighborhood.
Exactly.
I think to do that, I think putting the trees that are there now are the minimum, absolute minimum. I would suggest there need to be more trees or a different type of vegetation.
Well, I do too.
Oh, I want to see a
Yeah.
complete barrier wherever
Yeah.
wherever those islands are. I don't want to see the parking lot.
Right.
Because again, I mean, if you look at the section on that landscaping, buffer strip shall contain vegetation that will screen non-residential uses from sites in residential areas during winter months. So the legend only says tree, but it really, in my opinion, needs to be evergreens, and it needs to be just a complete screen on the front
Yeah.
there. I mean, it's not a retail area, right?
No.
It's not retail,
No,
you're not trying to
it's supposed to
attack, attract,
So this could be a
business.
screened area.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but back to the parking.
On the definition of screening, I don't agree that the definition of screening means an absolute block that you can't see through.
I agree.
Screening means
I
breaking
agree.
it up and,
But we have the right to make
Yep.
it based
Yep.
on the area that he's talking about being in the residential.
Yep.
I think
Yeah,
is-
that's
is
what
what it is, so we
I
can
think we
ask
do.
for more.
Can I ask how Russ felt about, just because that's not the best term, right? how he felt.
He just didn't want to impeding the sight distance, that's all. The screening,
Yeah.
he just didn't want it out so far that it impeded the sight,
So-
line of sight, that's all.
Yeah.
So if they're back, like they're showing.
Like they're shown. right.
He's happy if they're back there. They just can't be against.
I can't speak for everybody's happy, but
Okay, but that's what you got out of
Yeah.
the original, when he originally looked at it.
So,
that, I heard that at the
Oh, okay.
sidewalk. I
Oh,
didn't get
okay.
that from him.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody
Okay.
said
If
that.
Russ is listening, I
yeah,
didn't
there's a
get that.
couple different ways,
okay.
and there's a couple different ways to do screening too, because I've done it before where they alternate them. This is where we get into
Yeah.
not blocking the,
Yeah.
the sight, line of sight though, or putting a row of arborvitae's, which is similar to like they have down the sideline, you know, that, you know, grows right up together and will block
It'll get
that
bigger, it's
area.
gonna get bigger, it's gonna get
But
thicker,
it,
it's.
but it won't get real big, because those are supposed to be trimmed, you know,
they know.
you know, so that would never impede the line of sight, but it would stay together.
Yeah.
There, I mean, there's different things that can be done that way, so if you're talking about, you know, impeding the view of the commercial entities out there based on winter as well as summer, then I think a requirement that it would have to be evergreens isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it would, but it would be, you know, so, and then, back to parking.
So,
So
so
if we,
just,
but if you're gonna, so, yeah, sorry, if we go back to the parking and we're gonna block that off, then looking at it isn't gonna be something you're gonna see much of, and especially from the ball field and on the other side or whatever, then maybe what he did will work,
It's better.
and, for what it is.
If we could get a
Because we aren't talking,
compromise.
because we aren't
If we
talking
could get a
tractor.
compromise.
Yeah, so we're not talking tractor trailers back there, they're gonna be big boxy with advertising on it. It's low profile trucks and trailers with their name on it.
So they get the longer parking spaces if it's a nice big screen.
Barrier, yeah, bushes.
so
Yeah.
in talking about landscaping, I mean, I know we're talking about making so you can't see it.
Yeah,
But the reality is, we have to talk about how many trees are gonna grow, how many trees we can plant at the beginning, and how big they're gonna get. I mean, we can plant, if you plant too many trees in the beginning, they're gonna just all be dead. Because they're too close together, they're gonna choke each other out and go from
Well, I
there, so.
agree, I agree.
That's the reality.
But that's why you have to
Yep.
use a type that, you
Yep.
know,
It's gonna grow.
you figure it
Fill
out,
in.
yeah, that
Yeah.
will fill in.
They can
You have to-
tell.
Yep.
you.
Because I agree, you put in hemlocks and the bottoms will die the minute they touch each other.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, and if they're too
12,
close.
15 foot tall, and they go this way.
Yeah.
Need more of like a hedge style instead of a tree, is I think what we're asking for. It needs to be, yeah, not so much tree-like, but more bush-like.
Yep.
But that also is gonna take longer to cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
It is what
you
it is.
gotta,
Well,
yeah.
that's, you know,
But that's the
But when you have to
compromise
do
we have
something, you have to take that into consideration, like
Yep.
Mr. Roby just said, that, you know, you gotta give it room to grow, because you just don't put in full.
It's just
You
these
can, but it's.
these are too
it's
far
asking-
apart, that's
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you want something decent size, you don't want something that's too.
No, you don't want
You
it
don't
2
want-
foot.
You don't want this. You
Yeah,
want-
I've seen it where
Some
we've
6 footers.
made recommendations to a certain, it has to.
A regulation say
maintain the-
5 feet to start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5, 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yep. 5 feet and 5 feet or in
5 or
2-inch
6
caliper
feet.
or whatever, something along those lines. Yep,
Whatever it says.
yep.
So but I think whatever the determination is, it needs to be specific as far as distance
Yep.
tonight, not just more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you could double what's there.
How far apart are those right now that you show, John?
Uh,
Those trees?
There's a decent amount of space. I mean, there's probably 15 feet in between them right now.
but these are maple trees.
Yeah, and they're maple trees. It was something to show that, like, even, so when I did it, I was thinking along the lines of what Russ
40
was
feet
saying.
apart.
What's that?
You got them 40 feet apart.
Yeah. According to the parking space
I
there.
was gonna say,
Okay.
look
Yeah,
at
40
parking
feet apart.
space, but-
Yeah, because there's only 5, so yeah, there's a plenty of room in between, yes.
So what's a good distance? Anybody have any?
That's why I said double.
If we're, and what sort of, so distance and what sort of tree? Like, is it gonna be an arborvitae or a white pine or something? What?
Oh, no, it's not gonna be a white pine.
No, not, but evergreen, is
Arborvitae
it?
seems to work pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Isn't, if I remember from the sidewalk, is that what is between this parcel and the parcel to the east?
Is it arborvitae's along the property line?
Yeah, is there,
Yeah, because the white fence is on,
there something
Along,
along,
white cedars?
the white fence is on their side there, but.
on the other side there?
See here?
I think so.
That's on-
Yeah, I think it's arborvitae's.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so something like that, and
I have done that before where you have them staggered back and forth a bit too.
Yeah.
By doing that, I want to make sure it keeps back as far as I can keep them so I don't try to cut into the sight distance, and we'll have to maybe set a couple out there, like get a couple from Home Depot or whatever and set them out there so we see, like set them right at the right spot and look around the corner just so everybody has a visual of what it really ends up being.
Aren't arborvitae's what you had there as a temporary to look, when we were there was something in a pot, right? I thought.
Yeah, that was right on the road though.
But
Yeah.
those were arborvitae's.
Yeah, there was some arborvitae, yes, but that was like basically right, like maybe 5 feet off the property line.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be very different than that, but that was like right in the sight distance line, so.
What if the centers are 7 feet apart?
yeah, no. I was gonna say 8, so.
Spaced every 7 feet.
Every 7 feet,
Gives them room to grow.
Yeah.
but how many do we want?
Well,
Well,
it'll fill in.
Driveway
Yeah.
to driveway, okay.
Yeah, driveway to driveway and then a couple on either side.
No, it's-
Yeah,
Okay.
can you consult a tree company like Bartlett or something?
94.
And ask them,
Yeah, so if it says.
Ask
7
them
feet
to- ask them
apart,
what?
I mean, you have to be
how,
3.5
what is
feet
the
from the edge
optimal
of the
distance
driveway.
between the trees?
Oh, yeah, no, I can double check that. I have a landscape architect, I can make sure 7 feet is enough.
Yeah.
But it ain't, it's halfway between each tree and the road. Think about that, right?
And we want this, right now, he shows it on the west side of the lower driveway.
Yeah.
Do we want anything on the east side of the upper driveway? I know there is a tree line there, but
Should be.
There should be some.
one or two maybe, I don't know,
Yeah.
just to kind of go over to that tree line.
Yeah, oh, I was thinking over the tree line, that's my
So
notes were.
it might only be one, who knows,
Whatever.
but yeah, okay.
What are you looking for?
Yeah, which I was thinking, do we want anything up here? Because he shows them here, maybe one or two up there.
We can do some visuals, though, like take some photos and stuff like that of what everything looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, you're talking right here.
Because we have the vehicles parked there right now, so we can stand like at the driveway of the regular house and look the house and look that way.
Yeah.
You'll see what the screening looks like right now, and that would stay regardless, so.
Yep.
So I have a couple of things.
Okay,
One is, you should be showing the setbacks all the way around the property. You're only showing it on the front, a little on the sides. Then you have I remember the concrete pad that was out towards the front. I don't know if the rest of it back behind the house and stuff is concrete or asphalt, but you ought to put something in the legend that says what they are.
okay.
And if there's a difference, show the difference between the two.
I think on the reasoning on the setback, if you look at the existing conditions plan, they have the front building setback, and they have the side setbacks, and then they have all the wetland setbacks, and basically to the rear of the property, like, it's a lot of wet out there, so there's really no,
Just show the setbacks.
Yeah.
no problem.
Pull them out.
Is the rear setback for 40 feet and the side setback?
Yep, I'll extend them all the way.
So the shed that you are gonna move there, if I remember right, it didn't have a front to it. Are you gonna put a door on that? Because if I remember right, stuff was just thrown in there. Didn't look too.
It's actually on wheels yet, too. It's on wheels. So, if that shed needs to be improved, we could make that look better,
Well, that's
yes.
what I'm saying. It
Yep.
needs a door on the front.
Yep,
or at least aim the open side away from the road.
Something.
You know, if
Yeah.
you want it, if you don't wanna put a door on it, but you want the open side towards the bank, then at least it's not.
It's on wheels, it can move though.
Yeah.
The door would be better.
Yeah, no, I
I think
agree,
so.
but.
Yeah.
Because we switch 90 degrees as soon as the thing's
Yeah,
approved.
okay.
Yeah. Make it look a neighborhood like.
Make it look better, yes.
You know the 8-foot tall privacy fence on the east end?
Yes.
I think that would be a really good thing to have on the west side from the front road setback back to the berm, the woods.
We'd have to cut trees down to
Yeah,
do
so
that.
That's pretty thick through there.
Is it thick?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like the trees are right up,
Are they?
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they are, it is pretty thick over there.
That's the neighbor.
Okay.
If it was a matter of, we can look at, well, I wanna look and see how thick the trees are, but if it was a matter of like from the, 5-10 feet back from the property line to the top of the embankment, but that would be a compromise, yes.
So,
Well,
The ZBA actually did say something, we talked about that at the ZBA, so.
yeah, so that's what I was gonna say though, I just looked at the plan that we're not supposed to look at. And even if you put the retention pond down there, they're gonna cut all the trees down
Yes, they
Yep.
to the property line.
Oh, yeah.
Right to the property
So
line,
if they
yep.
are gonna do that, then
And
Rodney's
is
point
it
is a little
actually
bit.
showing
Yep.
a fence there?
I don't think it's showing a fence, it's showing that swale around the backside that.
Well, it's showing.
Yeah, that's the berm, that's a berm around the backside, so,
it's a line
yeah.
with a circle, line with a
Yep.
circle, line with a circle, that's usually a fence.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
whatever
looks
form.
like it is a fence.
You're right, Jeff.
You're right. Yeah.
What is that
Is that just a
on
silk
that
fence?
plan we're not looking at?
You're showing a fence.
But we,
According to
this one.
it's not on your legend, but it matches
Okay,
the
yeah.
side of the property with a line with a circle.
Didn't notice those.
Yeah, no, we had talked to the ZBA about that regardless, so if that's something that you guys want also, we definitely have that in there.
Oh, you know what, there's a note that says install erosion control mulch filled silt.
You're not supposed to be looking
it's-
at that.
We can't look.
I
at
know,
it.
but I'm just saying, since you looked at it, there was a note on it.
Oh,
Take these back.
Does
Yep.
not say fence.
well, it might be better. But,
I folded mine, I put mine away.
Yeah.
We can't talk about
Me
it.
too.
I did too, until you brought it up.
Sorry. I just-
Okay.
Well, everybody was saying we didn't need a fence, and then I'm like, well, wait a minute.
We'd have to have them add the
Well,
fence.
wait, there is a thing about
To
the
this
pond
one.
on the back. Does it say anything there?
yeah, that.
That's on the approved paper.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't forget your.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, maybe a fence would be
I never noticed.
a little
Yeah,
bit
just
better.
to the top of the embankment, obviously,
Going right
yeah.
in.
Yeah, I'm not
Yep.
gonna make you go down that 80-foot cliff down.
Let
Yeah.
them get it out, right?
Yep.
How you gonna keep the trees alive out there?
What's that?
How you gonna keep the trees alive out there?
Well, the front actually ends up getting loamed and seeded again, so
Okay.
a lot of that, it won't be like they're sitting out in the middle of the gravel, the way it would right now, so. There'd be a much better chance of everything.
And he does have a note that says that they'll take care of them, which is good.
does.
Yeah, I have the landscape note on there.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
Yep.
For the silt.
So,
Right, but it's in the same,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm guessing.
There's probably some butters that wanna talk. I don't know
Yep.
if we wanna take a moment for that.
might as well.
Yep.
Are there any butters that want to speak? Sure, you can come right out.
Good evening, Board. My name's Phil Brown, and I'm the abutter to the west. And I understand that it's a major home occupation, it's already been approved, and that's the way it is, right? Well, I have a few concerns, actually. So this is the property line between my property and the Marquis property, Alicia's property. Many years ago, when Wayne Jackson owned it, he and I decided where the property line was, right? So there's a pin out here at this corner, and then there's a tree right at the edge of where the drop-off that goes down to the wetland is. It's an oak tree. And then there's a maple tree that's kind of in between. So he and I figured, well, okay, that's our property line. And then out here somewhere, there's a stake with a flag on it that you can see. So I planted a string of spruce trees, and you probably saw them on your site walk. I planted a string of spruce trees along the property line. There's a couple that died up here, but along the property line up to where that embankment is. And I planted them 10 feet off that line. So I want to make sure that none of them get cut down, okay? I appreciate the fact, and Dan's already said, that, you know, a fence, we'll put a fence up. And that fence would be on the property line, not impinging on the trees, not cutting off any branches of the trees, if possible, that I planted years ago. Okay, so that's what I'd like to see happen. I appreciate the fact that you've got the pond back here, because it is a wetland. I appreciate the fact that you're putting a berm back there. But I do have this concern. From what I heard from the gentleman, this is where the 10-wheeler trucks with materials, roofing, metal roofing, asphalt shingles, will pull in, and this is where they will pull out. Okay, I walk every morning and every evening. I'm a 77-year-old guy, got to stay healthy some way. So I walk down the hill from Staniels Road from my driveway every morning and every afternoon when I'm here, okay? And when I do that, as I'm going down that hill, cars that are coming up that hill kind of swoop out towards the middle of the road, Staniels Road, because they don't want to interfere with my walk and worry about hitting me. So if the trucks are exiting here, they have to sweep out here. And the cars that come up that hill don't always go the speed limit, I have to tell you. A lot of times they're going 50 miles an hour as they're coming up that hill. I worry all the time that somebody pulling out here, and sometimes it's people that are at the baseball games, because in the past they parked at Dan and Alicia's property, right? So they parked actually there and they pull out. So I worry that someday there's going to be a serious accident with somebody coming up that hill that stays a little bit towards the center because somebody's walking down, or maybe they're just cruising, right? And when that truck pulls out, that takes a long time to get out there, that there might be an accident. I truly worry about that. And I've talked to Dan about that in the past too. And he's been supportive of that, you know, and appreciative of that. My thought is that if this, I guess you would call it parking area, storage area, got shifted down a little bit towards the house, towards the middle of the property, that a lot of these concerns would just disappear, because the trucks would maybe be pulling out here instead of here. They would go in over here, and that would be nice for the Owens, Nancy and Don, who live over here, because now when the trucks that bring the materials in, they park out here in Staniels Road, a lot of times while they're offloading. So they wouldn't have to do that anymore. Dan and Donnie and Nancy wouldn't have to see it, wouldn't have to hear it, right? It would be in the middle. And there's a much larger area here before you start into the hillside. So that's my suggestion. And if you choose not to follow those ideas, and that's your decision, you know, and you have this gentleman here that's talking, and you have Alicia and Dan talking about what they want to do. They have the major home occupation, just to try and make it so that my property value doesn't depreciate anymore. The Lomans who live over here, the new yellow house, they have to see this too, right? It's right there. Out here, only the ball field sees it. So, I mean, it's just a matter of, you know, still allowing it, because it is a major home occupation, but shifting it to the middle. So those are my suggestions. And I would love to see that you might think about those. Phil Brown, signing off. Have a good day.
Thank you.
So,
As far as like trucks coming in and out, I mean, is that something that
So
we could put a
what did
sign
your
up or
client think of
something?
that?
No, so if you look at the contours and the property line and everything else in that area, it narrows down to almost nothing at all in the middle.
I think we've
The only
already,
way you would be able to shift it down the lot would be to go all the way over in the front yard of the house.
Yeah,
That's all.
and then you detract more residential look away.
As much room
Well, if
And then they
nothing
would
more,
have to start over with
I think it deserves a couple signs down the road that says, trucks entering and exiting
Yep.
at minimum.
So who approves that?
Road agent.
Okay.
Well, we could have the applicant supply them though at.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we did that with the school. I actually bought the school signs and we installed them, so, yeah.
Wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea anyways, because I know I come through there a lot, and the traffic from the ball field is already an
Not
issue.
at 50 though, right?
55,
Oh.
right?
The speed limit, 60. No.
You can come through there at 10, and sometimes it's too much people with all their vehicles, so I don't think that's a bad idea
I
either
mean, you
way.
could, because it came up, you can look at it and see, but I see a telephone pole in the way, I see
Yeah,
more
I-
trees that are gonna be cut down that are now buffering one side of it, and that won't be there.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're gonna have pluses and minuses no matter what.
And Rodney pointed out the well, so then you
Yeah,
get,
the
then you
well,
start to get,
exactly.
yeah.
The well's over there.
And the
So,
wetland setback looks tighter.
yeah, the wetland setback is,
There, it makes it-
it's completely narrow there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the electric.
We,
going in.
it's a minor improvement, but where the entrance is right now on that road, like the entrance down on that side where there's a gap in the rocks, it's actually moving back away from that. Like, we're coming back away from that corner a little bit more.
Yes.
Probably,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how many feet, but I could figure that out.
Yeah.
But we're improving that distance from the physical location where they can come out now.
Yep. Yeah, you can see it on the existing conditions. Yeah, definitely.
I'm mindful of, I feel like there's been a lot of work put into it, and I appreciate that, because I think that you've taken everything everybody has said and tried to incorporate all of that, which has been a challenge. I've already seen it improve a lot.
Well, that's good. Good. And I guess.
No, and so since we got the ZBA approval, like, if you've noticed, all the trucks have been parked with the trailer, like, kind of at the right angle, like, just making sure that we could physically do everything we were trying to do. So, like, basically all along this whole process, whatever we started trying to implement or say that we were gonna do at the planning board has been being implemented on site, and that's why it's been getting better, so.
I've actually seen hardly any vehicles parked in there every time I've been by lately, so I don't know where they are, but it definitely is a lot more empty and a lot cleaned up, so.
I think there was one more butter if you
Yep,
wanted.
I just wanted to talk about that, that's it.
If you wanted, you don't have to, but if you wanted to, I just want to make sure you.
Yeah, sure. Just again, 155 Stanley's I butt to the rear. So I do appreciate that even when it came to that adjustment at that previous meeting, in a technical sense, it was sort of in my favor in that it moves things a bit further away from the wetlands border, which is my border, which I appreciate, as I definitely want to make sure those are well taken care of and that berm is doing its job. But I had some overall arching concerns, especially about when we talk about, we were talking about signs, there's sort of a balance between, okay, now we've got on the Daniels residential roads, these signs saying trucks entering and exiting. That seems a little more commercial to me, but obviously I think if I had to split it one way or the other, I'd split it in the interests of safety. But I think there has been some discussion, and forgive me because I don't have anywhere near the background on the specific codes to this, as to the entity name of the major home occupation changing through this process, Marquee, Premier, et cetera. And there's been some discussion over that. And I suppose a question I would have would be that, what is the, process of that? If, for example, in theory, if they sold that property and someone else bought it, would they still have the same ability to run a business out of there? Because then I think that opens up more concerns.
So they would be approved to do the exact same thing, but that's it.
I was thinking the same thing.
If they were to change to something else that isn't allowed under a major home occupation, they would have to come back to us.
Well, when you say change, does that mean anything other than a roofing company, or is there a broader set of things that is approved under
Yeah.
the blanket of a major home occupation?
We approved a roofing company.
Yeah, roofing only.
Okay. Okay, that's good, and that helps me understand the scope, because I think it's a very different discussion if we're talking about something that has been more, surrendered as a permanent fixture, as a rather, for a home occupation, kind of hardware and traffic-intensive business. I'm glad to see that it's at the very least narrow, so hypothetically, even if somebody else were to take it up, the impact would remain about the same. The only other comment I had is that the abutter across the road, I'm not sure if it was taken into account when we're talking about their line of sight. They are actually at the top of a bit of a steep hill, and so whatever line of sight we're thinking, they're going to be able to see over it if it's very short. Just a small consideration for them. I suppose that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, just because it is a roofing company, but like many roofing companies, they do siding, they do windows, they do general repair, so
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
So, a question I had is, he mentioned the signs saying trucks entering. I've seen signs that just say, like, heavy traffic area.
Yeah, which falls in line
Which
with the
falls
ballpark.
in this and the ballpark.
Agreed.
I don't know if that's a better thing.
And there isn't any signs out there now that talk about that?
No, and we
I
have
think
used
there
them.
should be.
There should be probably, but,
No parking.
yeah, I think it'll say no parking, But yeah,
Everybody
maybe,
parks
back
there.
maybe instead of
Yeah.
trucks entering, it just says, heavy traffic area, or something like that. I don't know what the sign. what you
Caution,
can get
traffic
for-
entering, I mean, it's,
Should we leave it up to the road agent and the selectmen?
Yeah, that's,
sure.
yeah, maybe we leave it up to the road agent.
I was just gonna say that, if we should, I could talk to the police and, Russ and see what sort of sign they think the best language would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's-
Yep, there is
that's a good
also
idea.
options for the way the sign looks, if that's a big concern. You can
Yeah.
make the sign look more residential.
So, yeah,
There are,
I would
there's
say-
different ways to go about that.
yeah, I would
I
say
guess
top.
I look at it this way. The man came and made a suggestion to move the driveway. I won't say we, it's been kind of ignored, okay? We have a plan in front of us that we're
Yeah.
looking at. If there was an accident and there was not a sign there, and somebody really got hurt, I think the town is gonna be on the hook. And I think that the planning board has an obligation to look at that aspect of it, the safety aspect of it.
Good.
I would have liked to have seen him come when we had this site walk and the initial
So, I
plan.
I agree to a point, but I also disagree with the fact that the road agent gave them the driveway permit. And if the road agent gave them the driveway permit at this location, knowing that there's a major home occupation, he should have been able to notice whether or not the site distance was enough for going the speed limit.
So I
No,
totally
we-
understand
So-
you, I hear you.
So,
And aside from that,
No, we
aside
did-
from all of this, we still have concerns about traffic and everything from the ballpark. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not just them,
yeah,
By the
it's,
same token,
but yeah.
I agree, I
I
mean, but
agree,
you know,
yeah.
how much can you be liable for, but.
When Russ and I met out there to pick the location, we had the wheel, and we wheeled out all the distances.
Yeah.
It does meet everything.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
well, that's good, but
Yep.
like he said,
Yep,
a big truck coming in there, 18-wheeler, to come out of there, they're gonna go on the other side of the road.
But he also said the people coming up were speeding and going
Oh,
on the other
I
side of the road.
understand that as
So
well.
it's,
The
so it's
tractor,
hard,
they're
it's hard to
gonna
regulate
have more
It's a
traffic.
sight too,
It's a
being
double-edged
higher,
sword,
yeah.
but I do think a sign or something.
Right,
I
a sign
agree.
definitely.
Of
Yeah.
some type needs
I
to be
agree.
put there.
But yeah, I think if you let
yep.
Russ.
No, I'll talk to Russ and the police department and just confirm it with the selectmen and figure out what the right sign is.
Sounds good to me.
I do appreciate all the work and time this has taken, and you've listened, so I just want to say that. We're getting closer, right?
Chip has,
Yeah, just on a butter.
Chip.
Oh, okay.
Sort of.
We have another person that wants to talk.
No problem. Right here, this one.
Just wondering why.
Thank you. Chip Barrett, 16 Clark Avenue. I was encouraged that one of you, at least one of you, has acknowledged that this is a commercial business, that this is not a home occupation. They've advanced past the home occupation into the commercial business. They have 3 driveway permits for Staniels Road. How many other residents in residential areas do you have 3 driveway permits? In this town anywhere?
Well, the town regulation says you can have as many as you want.
Okay, well, as far as I know, it's the only one in town that's got 3.
We don't have a restriction in this town.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
'cause I
it
think-
is, but
I
that's
think
something
that's
that-
unreasonable for this
Yeah,
lot.
but that is what it is.
Okay, but I am encouraged that you did at least acknowledge that you
Yeah.
think it's a commercial business. I agree with Mr. Phillips about the 4 parking spots are really 8 parking spots, from what I can see. It's a truck and a trailer. That takes up 2 parking spots, in my opinion. And if you've acknowledged 4, you've given them 8 parking spots, which is neither here nor there at this point. We probably need to make a definition at some point for parking area, or parking spot, or parking at some point with the zoning, as a definition, at some point. I would like to make sure that that it's in writing that they are not going to be building any garage here at all. No garage. They acknowledge that, I understand that. I would like to see that in writing, that they cannot build anything on this property.
Actually, there's a
building
proposed
one.
26 by 40 garage.
If that's what it shows there, then I want to speak to that.
That's been,
This is a residential property. That garage is more than 100 yards from the house. That is not incidental to a home occupation. It's 100 yards. That can't be a home occupation if it's 100 yards away. They're supposed to, according to, sorry, I'm a little nervous. 5022, A, the use shall be conducted within a residence and carried on by the inhabitants thereof, no more than 3 persons. I get that. Part B, the use shall be clearly incidental and secondary to the use of the dwelling for dwelling purposes. The appearance of the structure shall not be altered from the occupation within the residence, not part of the residence. I get that. By use of the colors, materials, construction, or other. In 502.5, such occupation shall not distract the residential character of the neighborhood. It shall not, Part C, utilize the exterior spaces of the residential structure for yard or storage, display, or occupational activities that unreasonably deviates from typical residential use. That is not typical residential use. I don't know any other businesses in town that are like that. We've kicked out Joe Osborne, we kicked out Tree Fellas. I don't not say we should kick them out, but I think you need to take those things into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I was kind of waiting for some of this to be brought up. I have a couple questions. So,
May I speak one more time?
go ahead.
Sure.
You kind of walked right into where I was going.
I'm sorry. And along with those lines, I would like to speak with the police department about enforcing the no parking along the fence line. Sometimes, when we come by there in the spring, there's one big truck that his rear bumper hitch is sticking out over the tar portion of the road. And there should be no parking on that road. And I think if the police chief says he can enforce that, that's fine. There is no parking on that road. Otherwise, maybe we put some barricades up, and I will talk to the highway department, well, depending on what I talk to the police chief about. Get some barricades or put some rocks or something so that people will not park there. That's very dangerous, come through there. Along the fence of the ball field, when the ball field in the spring.
So you say
Everybody
this is
parks.
not-
Everybody parks the building against the
Oh,
fence.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
parks.
I thought you meant their lawn.
There's 50
Yeah.
cars parked there
Yeah,
on any
all the
given,
time.
any given day. And you've been by, you've seen the bumpers that stick out into the
they do,
road.
because there's not enough room,
There-
and that's what I'm saying.
And that's
So
why
if
there's
you
no
come off
parking
the
there.
road
That
and
needs to be
there's parked
enforced.
cars, you still have to go out
Doesn't it
around.
say-
That
No
needs,
parking?
that
Yes.
needs to be enforced.
That's why he's saying
People don't obey the
No.
rules?
So there is not enough parking at the ball
Oh,
field.
Right.
And I would
You
disagree
go
with that. The
park it.
problem is people don't want to park in the ball field where there is
No,
parking.
there's
There is
not.
not
enough
You,
room.
you park lawn and the paved area, and
Yep.
you're up next to the tree, there's
Yep.
not.
Yep.
There's
So
not.
maybe that's a consideration for some expansion, if there's any more area there to expand the parking area out back. I don't know how far the town property goes. Maybe that could be expanded, expand the parking area to keep them from parking out there.
Yeah.
Maybe barricades along the road of rocks like they put on the Marquee side. They put some boulders out there so people won't park there. Maybe that's a solution. I don't know, but it is dangerous coming through there. The other consideration might be to reduce the speed limit through there to 30 miles an hour.
That won't help.
Well, if it's enforced, it will help.
Yeah, it can be enforced, yeah.
If it's enforced, it will help.
I agree.
So that was the other
Well,
point.
big rocks are the easiest way. There's just no
Thank
way to
you.
get in there. Big giant boulders, done. Nobody can park there.
Matt, what did you?
And it would look okay.
So, you guys keep using the word major home occupation.
Yep.
This kind of sounds like this is outgrowing a home occupation, to be honest with you guys.
We use that because
That's
that's what
why
the
we-
No, I know,
zoning
I'm
board
just saying,
determined
but
it
we're
was.
using the word major a lot,
Yeah.
and he is correct. This is way on the other end. So if he builds a garage, if they build a
It
garage.
already got approved,
No, I
not
know.
by us.
I know, but so if they build the garage there,
They got zoning, so we haven't got our approval.
Yeah, no,
Go
but
ahead,
we've
keep going.
encouraged
if they
it.
build a garage, and then they throw a desk in there one day, and then they just decide to go work in the garage, none of us are gonna know, but that's not a home occupation anymore. I think when we did the site walk, there was clear indication that they were parking against the fence of the Owens, which to me reeks of home occupation. And I'm good with that, because that's a home occupation. Your trucks are right next to your house, you're not going very far, but to go through all.
Well, we moved the trucks because the neighbor was.
No, I know, but to go
Yeah.
through all this,
But they only went through that because we wanted them to get
No, I know,
from
but-
the other stuff.
I know, but that's where I'm trying to go with this, is
Yeah.
to go through
We're
all of
past that
this,
point.
to build the garage, to get 2 new driveways, to put new parking in, to get parking spots, to set up all these trees. You're more or less not really in the home occupation space anymore.
But that's what we're making them do.
Yeah.
It's
I,
not that they
I
wanted
know, I'm
to
just
do
saying
that.
at this point, to
I
me,
The only.
just as cut and dry looking at this, this has outgrown the home occupation definition, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion, I think this is outgrown a home occupation, I think this is a commercial business,
But
that's what
there's
you're
nothing
calling
we
it.
can do
Yeah,
about
we're
it.
Yeah,
not.
so that's the problem, I don't
Yeah.
disagree with you, Matt, that it probably has outgrown. The zoning board said it didn't, that's what we have to go by. So
But we're imposing
we
those
are
limits.
fixing, we
Yeah.
are fixing the mistakes to a point.
We are
As-
trying
as
to make
much
it
we
as nice
can
as
a board.
possible.
I
With what- the
understand
only
that, but
benefit-
I think we're kind of past making it nice, I think this is,
But there's nothing
we
we
don't
can
have
do.
a choice.
as he brought up, it's 3 employees, to have 4 trucks, and the trailers,
Yeah.
and a garage, and
So the-
materials being dropped
The
off.
benefit to the garage is everything's hidden.
Yeah.
Yes.
So everyone's complaining about what it looks like.
I get it.
Guess
I-
what? Before they were there, it didn't look very nice, right?
I know, I'm
Yeah.
just
It's,
throwing my.
can't go
it's
backwards
never
at
looked.
All I'm doing is throwing my
very
2
nice.
cents is at this point in time, from this piece of paper, this is no longer a home occupation.
The
But it-
problem is from our end, if
We
we
can't.
say no, they can still operate, but we can't regulate it.
Well,
The only thing we can approve
That's why we have-
is a plan to help keep them regulated.
okay, so
That's
when,
our end.
if by this piece
They
of paper.
can't grow.
I know, but by this piece of paper, if we all look at it and say this is past a home occupation, just all of us, we don't have to say it out loud, but if we look at this and say cut and dry, this is more than a home occupation, and we allow this to keep going, there is no real stopping it anymore.
No, this is the
This
limit.
is
That's
the
what we're
stop.
setting.
What's
We've
gonna
set the
happen
limit.
is
The 4
Somebody else
spots,
is
the,
gonna do the same thing.
Well, that's true, someone else is gonna now do the same thing as this, but this
You did it
is,
for them, you
but
gotta
there
do
is
it
no
for me
stopping,
now.
that's what I'm saying, there is.
Matt, there's
But we
nothing
didn't
that we
approve
can
the
do
home
about it.
occupation.
Yeah.
We can do our best
we
with the
can't.
site plan,
I-
but there's
I'm-
nothing
listen,
we can do about it.
I'm not asking for everyone to tell me why I'm right or wrong, I'm just
You're
saying.
not wrong.
I'm just
You're
saying,
not
my- no, I know, I'm just saying, this is my opinion, I'm telling you.
But we just
that
need to
We-
move forward.
yeah.
this-
Yeah.
We just need to move
Get
forward.
that now.
wouldn't-
That's why we're gonna put some
But
limits on
if
it.
we don't approve if we do not approve a site plan,
Yeah.
because the zoning board's approval, how many years ago now? Required them to come before the planning board for site plan approval. If we just refuse to approve it, it does not eliminate that business.
Yeah.
They can
Okay.
just do whatever they want.
They can just do whatever they want.
They can put up 3 garages.
But then, it wasn't the contingency, they had to come to us to get approval, and if they don't get approval, they
No,
can't move.
no, it
Am
simply
I
said
missing
they had to
something?
come before us for site plan approval, that's all it said.
Not approved.
It doesn't have to be
They've made
approved.
the decision. It is out of our hands. We just have
So
to
this is
work
just gonna-
as best we
This
can
is-
with this.
Like, I'm not trying to kick them out of town or anything, but like, this is just
Once
gonna.
nothing
they
we
come
can
up
do.
with a plan, they can't grow. That's why we're coming up
But
with
you
a
can't,
plan.
Rodney.
you're making.
No, we can't, they can't. That's
Do you
why
think
they
that
can't exceed the number of
They meet all
people.
the requirements for major home occupation with 4 trucks?
Oh, absolutely not.
Well,
But
why are
it
we
says
approving it
4.
then?
Because we
Because
can't
if
make
we-
it disappear.
What happens if we don't approve it?
Why are we going
Well, you
back?
can approve for 2 trucks.
I'm fine.
Well, it says you can
No
have
garage.
4.
Says 3
Or
employees.
3 employees and 4.
No,
Yeah.
there's no way to break it.
Can't approve them for less.
Do you know how many employees they have?
No, but you're allowed up to,
3.
and they're saying that's how many they have.
3
How many
employees.
contractors they have?
And her
Contractors
truck.
aren't employees.
Her truck,
I think that's,
3 employees.
That's by
But there's
definition.
4
But
parking spaces.
I agree.
There's no
It's always been,
regulate.
it's always been a difficult one. Way back, a friend of
You can
mine
talk in 1 second, I'm
does
sorry.
does wetland scientist, okay? He had 4 employees, and he came before the zoning board, and they denied him a home occupation until he fired his daughter, okay? Had to get rid of her. That left him with 3 employees, okay? So his daughter had to go, the other 3 never stepped foot in his office or his house, because they worked outside. They got a call, go to such and such a place. There was no sense of driving to Loudon when you had to go to Keene. You know, you didn't drive all the way to
I know
Loudon
who you're
from
talking.
Barnstead when you go. So things like that happen. And it was a difficult situation. He ended up getting it, but he had to fire his daughter to prove that he only had 3 people, okay? And all of those worked outside of the house. It's a similar situation here. They work outside of the house. The difference is they're coming and leaving, okay? But their actual work is done outside, very similar to even the other people. You look through the criteria, it's difficult. These have been difficult for a while now. Everybody looks at them different. And does it meet all of them? Does it meet some of them? How does it work? It talks about the 3 employees, it talks about the 4 off-street parking, it talks about, a lot of different things here. The problem is the zoning board approved the occupation. Now we have to try to fit it, our regulations, and that's a zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
But we have to look at the land regulation and just fit within this. So I think we're, doing what.
if the condition had said, and get approval for a site plan, I think that would be
It would be
different.
different.
Right.
But it said, and go to the planning board for a site plan approval. It didn't say that it would be
Subject to, you mean?
subject to, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think you could interpret it
Can I
that way.
just let
Yeah.
him speak
Yeah.
real quick?
Yes.
Yes, I apologize. This is just to give me a little more background because there were a lot of uses of the word "they" made this decision. So I think there's some delegation responsibilities here, or not responsibility, but of I don't know, bailiwick zones of control between so this is the planning board, right here.
Yes, correct.
Then there's the zoning board, which I believe we were at for that other meeting about the adjustment. Okay, and they were the ones who were making this decision as to if this constituted major home occupation, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and so they would be the ones, he sort of, he was making the point, this feels like not a major home occupations, but they would have to be the ones to say that, for that to be meaningful.
And they
Is that
already approved it.
Yeah, yeah.
They can't take that back.
So we can't tell them they can't do it.
Right.
We just need to make it.
No, I understand it. from-
Listen to everyone's concerns.
Yes.
Try to
Mitigate the issues.
listen, try to make it look as nice as possible so that they can function.
I totally appreciate your guys' position in that, as I'm just trying to work out in terms of the process by which the zoning board, if, you said they can't take that back, meaning is that there's no possibility that they can revisit that in the future, even if circumstances change? These is just perpetual?
There's a limit on how many days you have to appeal it. Look, can I read I have it.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I keep everything.
That might help.
That'll help.
So the number 4 is setbacks is number 1, hours of operations number 2, no storage of construction debris on the property. Number 4 actually reads, proposed major site development must get planning board approval.
So it's must.
must get.
So if it's denied here, then
Is that the new one or the
technically-
old one?
What new one?
What new one?
This is for the major home occupation, the
Okay.
new one is for reduced setback.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
that's
So-
the setback.
If
So
they don't
it's-
get planning board approval, it seems like their
They have to
approval
go
from the
back to
zoning
the-
board is failed.
If that's the case, then I would like to go back to my point of this kind of looks a little bit more than a home occupation.
My concern is we've led them here.
We've been
I
working on this
understand-
for like 5
And
months.
I
I
understand
think
that.
that
You
puts
should
us
have
in a
told us
difficult
5
spot.
meetings ago.
Well, listen,
I
like-
know, but why?
But listen, the small spaces were kind of like small spaces for like little trailers, little
What if they had
this.
a box truck? Would you limit the length on a, if
Well,
it was
if there
a
was-
Well, it
company
has
that
to
only
fit in
used
one parking
box
spot, right?
trucks? Like, it's splitting hairs.
I'm just saying, I get we're all here today, I'm saying today, I know it's been a long road, I'm saying today, this on paper does not look like what it looked
But
like a
it's-
couple months ago, and this screams more and more that this is above a home occupation.
This is what it looks
Couple
like.
months,
That's the
the
problem. We've
parking
been,
spaces.
yes, this has been months now that we've looked at the
then
same.
I'm
So that I can get out of your hair, I just had one more
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So in the, sorry to interrupt your discussion and everything. In a theoretical situation, so is the only thing that, for example, I'm not saying there's anything like this, but hypothetically, right? Say they started doing something ridiculous like, oh, we're gonna train and raise circus elephants, right? Something
Can't do that.
grossly appropriate, right? That would be code enforcement as opposed to
Yes.
boards.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to
So
say
just-
that rather than having Matt be sitting there all alone, I happen to agree with Matt, because I think what this does is sets a precedent.
I
And I
also,
think, and I think I think you're absolutely right, man. I don't think this meets the criteria.
I would say that I understand the long road, but to get, the long road was what led me to get to this answer. 5 months ago, I would have said, yeah, you know what, it's a small thing, they're not doing a lot, I understand. But after seeing this and seeing this and seeing this and hashing through everything we've gone through over 5 months to get here, I'm sitting here today saying this is not a home occupation anymore.
But my issue is that this is where we told them to go.
I understand that, but it doesn't mean you can't be
Zoning
educated
board
over
told them
time.
to come here.
No, I mean, we led them
over the
to
last-
all these changes
No,
of
add
what
this,
we
do
wanted to
this.
see.
It
Yeah.
doesn't-
Yeah, but that was just helping them interpret the rules.
Listen, it doesn't mean you can't get educated over time. We did push them to this direction, but it doesn't mean you can't get educated over the time frame to realize something.
You are correct, yes.
Of the major home
We'll say must.
Roofing company.
Just roofing?
I gotta read.
Well, I think it's good that we have this.
Yes.
We're having this.
Very much.
Thank you, Rodney. Appreciate that. Helped me out today.
So the
Thanks,
title of the
Rodney.
application was special exception for a major home occupation to be allowed to keep materials and machines on the property. That's what I have. I can't.
What's it
read.
say?
Materials and machines.
Yeah, that's what it says. That's what the title
Okay,
says in the
yeah.
minutes.
And then machines
And that could
go
be
with,
a little-
machines is a wide open
Machines are-
category.
Do you have
I
the
think.
actual approval, the notice of decision?
No.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Well, that's what you were reading from.
He's got everything but that.
Let me see what else I have.
Lindsay's got it.
Special exception to allow a major home occupation to be allowed to keep materials and equipment on the property.
Well, it could be any business.
Trailer is equipment, so that makes it more.
Materials is roofing or siding or
It doesn't
Yeah, but it
specify
doesn't
what.
Or
I guess
dirt
they could
or-
have a
Heavy
different
equipment
business
or-
besides
It
a
does not
roofing.
specify the business.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but then you have to go to the,
Change of use.
Yeah, change of use, land use.
yeah, but no, the application has a title, but it also has an explanation. Does it have anything further?
Nope, that was the description.
Yeah.
That was the
Okay, that's,
description.
Very
I'm just
vague.
clarifying,
Okay.
so I know.
Yeah, I've
That
got
was
the
a
notice of
description.
decision.
What about the,
Did it, and it was just under home occupation as far as the section that they were asking for, right? I mean, that was what,
That's not in the notice of decision. Oh, no, that's not in the notice of decision.
but they also had a plan, they
who
should have had,
applied?
Tom and Alicia.
Okay, not Premier Roofing, not,
No.
okay, so it
So it,
literally means anything.
yeah.
It means
If
Tom
the
and Alicia
homeowner's
can put any
applying for it,
material or
it's on
any
the
machine on
homeowner's
their
property.
property because they're approved for it.
Probably what a judge would say.
A homeowner applied for a business on a homeowner property. That's what I'm saying. Like, I
With-
hate to do this, but it's like.
with
this- that's
materials
all
and
what we do.
equipment, so now it brings it back to,
Yep.
Our trailers,
Materials and
equipment,
equipment on the
They're not technically equipment,
If
they're
you-
vehicles.
They're not vehicles, they don't drive
Well-
themselves.
No,
I know.
but
Major
they're
home
definitely
occupation is the
Yep.
business.
You
True.
can-
If you allow
So, I don't
a
disagree.
business
Yeah.
to be allowed to keep.
That's what I'm saying, it's all gray.
Is what they're
Isn't
asking
our
for.
issue with the zoning board?
Because
I
when
could-
you ask for a home occupation.
Okay, so we have
Just
too
so
many,
you know-
just one second.
So,
I just
yeah.
want to point out, there's way too many conversations. Lindsay's trying to take notes and people are listening. But now,
Um,
I don't know where we're at, if he could,
I'd like to make one statement.
absolutely.
Okay.
I was just listening too, and I just wanted to say that the zoning board of adjustment, the letter that I got to come to that meeting, the petitioners were Premier Roofing and Alicia.
Yep.
That's what it said.
Yeah, that was the recent one for the setback.
Yeah.
The original one was
There was no permit.
long ago.
There's more than one.
Yeah.
There's-
So,
They changed
my only statement is that if you go into, there was the zoning board of adjustment application, and everything that is all testimony that happens during that application is part of the record. I would have to go look at the minutes, I don't have the minutes in front of me, but I would wager to guess that there's a ton of discussion about exactly what was going on. It was a roofing company, it was, this was what was happening. There's probably a ton of discussion that happened during that meeting of exactly what was happening. And they approved it for the home occupation.
I understand
That's-
that, but it's just, that language they're
Yeah, I
reading is a
agree.
little vague.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I know, the language is, but you have to take the entire record of what was said during the meeting too. All oral testimony is part of the record.
Yes, yes, that is true.
Having, I was just gonna say, having not been part of these conversations and approvals from the beginning and not being on the board at that point, if we're gonna move into this territory, then I feel like I need to be given a whole lot more background information and we need to start from scratch. I do not wanna do that, for the record, but now I feel like we're all over the place and.
We are all over the place.
So, minutes from June 23rd, 2022. The application was noticed as a special exception for a major home occupation. And Alicia stated that they owned a roofing company and they have trucks and trailers parked on site.
Okay.
So that's when it's
So nothing
mentioned about
changed.
A
roofing.
A
company,
roofing company with trucks and trailers, okay.
not a siding company.
But it, again, they've always done the same stuff, so it's probably in there that all these other things that they do, I don't,
Well, like,
If I go
That
on the
would be-
website, would I
I
see
need to read
roofing,
the
or would I
minutes.
see siding, roofing, windows, any of
or
that?
listen to
I
it,
have
it's
no
probably
idea.
a lot more.
Yeah, that's, okay.
I'm not sure
I don't
where,
think that's as important
At
as,
this point, we have to go by what's on the application and what they're asking for.
Right.
And if it was approved for a roofing company, that's what we're gonna approve, and if they
It's
do
one
further
time.
than that, it's a code
that's a
enforcement
code
issue.
enforcement issue after. We're
One
approving a
time
roofing
at the
company.
camp.
Instead of confusing us.
Yeah.
but it
So-
does sound like a condition is that they get our approval. So
Yeah.
if
Oh,
we
yeah,
don't- If we
yeah.
don't,
So,
Gutters and
if
roofing.
we just deny
I'm
it.
okay with getting the approval, but
so we
for
get,
the right thing.
if I may, when it's my turn. Sorry.
Your turn.
So, two things that I see right now that are basically holding this up anyway. One is whether or not we can approve it based on the information that we have. So I think we need a little bit more information, or that's what I'm hearing people want. Second is, the plans aren't complete because they don't have
Right.
the pond and the information.
I can,
anyway.
I need to add, I need to add the landscaping and clarify a couple
Yeah.
things and make sure I
So-
label a fence correctly and make sure everything shows up on the printed plans
Yeah.
that I turn in.
So I would make a recommendation that we table this until the next hearing.
The only thing is,
Yeah.
I don't wanna keep tabling it if now we're listening to people saying they don't even wanna approve it.
Well, they
Cause they
can't.
are spending a lot of money.
I'm not listening, I haven't heard anybody say that.
Uh,
Because, I'm not listening to that because I'm doing my own thing. So I don't care what you guys think, I haven't
Somebody
made
would
a
have to make a
decision yet. And we have an applicant who wants to continue, and we have a board that, I mean, if somebody wants to make a motion over mine to
I'll second yours.
yeah, but to, you know, disapprove it, that's fine. I'm saying, continue it for a week, let them come in with a little bit of information, and possibly all of us could get the minutes that we need to read in the next 30 days, and then we'll make our decision next
Yeah.
month.
Is it,
So,
I don't know how this
Unless
works,
somebody-
but is it possible to take a vote of the board to see which direction we're moving in? Because that changes, you know, can we talk about whether or not we feel that it even meets the requirements of what we've been discussing? Because
I can't without the other information.
Yeah.
I think it would be, I think people have been questioning the wording of the
Yeah.
conditions. I think it would be good, I don't think it'd take very long to get legal's opinion as to whether or not we can deny it at all.
I would like.
What is the ratification?
I would like
of
more
the
Does,
verbiage.
does number 4 require, if we do not approve, does that mean that the zoning board approval goes away?
Yeah,
I
that would be, I agree.
I think that's important because people
Oh,
are questioning
yeah.
the wording.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
my concern is we didn't ask that up front, and I feel like we've,
Well, I don't think we had, I had the wording, but I didn't think about it either. so-
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
that's on
I mean,
us
that's-
though.
So-
Yeah,
Maybe, but I mean, we have a right to
But they,
he asked for, quite a few of the continuances were asked by him,
Yes,
not made
not
by us.
That's right.
So that's different. I have one thing that we haven't even talked about, and maybe it's nothing. It was mentioned by a gentleman, 502.5C. Utilize the exterior spaces of the residential structure or yard for storage, display, occupational activities that unreasonably deviates from typical residential use. Does that garage that they're proposing fit this description?
Would you so if, take it into account, they're storing stuff,
Yes.
would you rather it be in the open?
That's not what I'm asking. I'm just asking if the board thinks that building a new garage that is so far away from the house fits in the description of
I feel.
what the regulations
I'd
are.
say it does.
I do too.
I feel like
And
if there was
I'll
no
explain
garage,
you-
it would limit the growth
Yeah,
of
but
how
I'll-
many employees.
That's not what he's asking.
No, I know,
No.
but I don't, because I don't have a garage.
so if I may explain my thought on that,
Yes.
is this property has been around for, just like this for a long time. And there has been buses, there's been wood, there has been anything you can think of in that gravel parking area
Yeah.
for many, many years. This is the first time that we're asking for it to be buffered
Yep.
and fences put up, trees put up, and controlling it. But if you look at the property, it's all steep in the back, it's all wet in the back, and their usable space is the front. So as a residential property, that is,
Okay.
the entire frontage is their residential property.
Okay.
So as far as fitting it, I think it does, putting in a garage does. If somebody else, they sold it, the business went away, that garage would still be, it ain't an unreasonable size for somebody who has a couple of, cars or something that they want to store, Camaros or whatever. So I think as far as that goes, I personally think, what everybody else thinks, but that's my thinking on that.
No, that makes.
I agree, I agree.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
aspect.
It's an
Just wanted to-
odd shaped property, right?
Yeah, I just didn't know and I wanted
Yeah, no, that's.
somebody to.
I think,
making the most out of the land.
what it
Yeah.
will become
Yeah.
will be better than what it has
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
for
right.
as long as I can remember.
I don't disagree with that,
So-
yeah.
And I can think of a number of properties where they've put a large outbuilding
Yep.
a great distance away from the house because of what they're using for or what their constrictions are. I have one that's not near my house, so.
That's where I would've gone so if I have 100 acres, I have to put everything in a small
Yeah.
certain spot. I can't put something out here because I own that land, and I can't put something out here. That's kinda,
Yeah.
And having a
That's kinda
garage
where
is
that
what makes it
goes in
feel
my house.
residential.
Right.
Yeah, that aspect. That's
I have to keep everything close together, because if I put it out here, it'll be a major home out.
Yeah, it's not residential.
It changes, no, it doesn't, it's my land, right?
So,
No, I agree.
I have lots of clients that have built houses and they have like 15 cars and they have a
Barn.
major outbuilding for vehicles. I mean, this is residential garage, a 4-car garage
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
So it does
I don't feel like it's unreasonable, it's gonna be a residential style building with 4-car garage.
I'm happy then.
And
So,
We have not taken the vote yet, but when we do to continue, you won't be able to speak again. So is there any?
yeah, I didn't think you'd close the public hearing.
Oh.
Yeah, we
You're
have.
not closing it because you
still have to continue it.
Yeah.
But after I continue it, he can't ask anything.
Yeah, you haven't
So it's just
continued,
asking
you haven't
if you like
continued
to
and haven't
speak, like,
closed
you're
yet.
not
Yeah, she hasn't closed it, yeah.
Yeah, you can close it
Yeah.
now is what you're saying. Do you have anything else to say?
I don't want to close it.
No,
we're
we're
not
continuing,
closing it.
right?
Continuing.
Right, but we would stop talking after we
But
continue
we're,
it.
I just wanted to know if you wanted to ask anything else.
Yeah, she's just trying to make sure he doesn't have
That's what I
anything else.
said.
I don't wanna cut you off.
Nope.
But we're not gonna keep talking about it once we continue it.
So you're good?
I feel like our approval from the ZBA originally and the new approval we have, like, that actually governs, like, we're a home occupation. Like, I don't feel like we're outside of that box at all. They have 2 employees right now. That's it. It's four vehicles. I mean, it's not a big thing that it's being made into. That's it. That's my opinion.
Did you have something else to add that hasn't been, that you haven't?
Yes, I just wanted to find out whether the scrap metal, all the roofing metal scraps and things that just kind of get piled on my property line, some in the trailer, some on the line, whether they'll be in the garage. You know, once again,
I don't,
No,
you're
no,
not
there's
allowed
no
to be
garage.
aware
my
of that.
property value is being diminished.
Which property are you, just so that
I'm
everybody
I'm just to
understands,
the west of the property line.
next to the detention bond.
Yeah.
To-
I didn't
Right
see a
next-
pile.
I didn't
Basically
see
right here, this is me.
So, right, so the detention pond, the garage, that area,
This is where they,
John can tell
right
you
now,
whether-
this is where the scrap gets dumped.
okay, but that's gonna be changing.
Okay,
We're gonna
so,
be putting a fence
so it
up
won't
there,
be
right?
seen, right?
You can speak to that.
One
Yeah, that's
thing-
that's the landscaping that's being added.
Right,
Okay.
so everything's being,
Right now, the gravel goes right up to the property line. I mean,
Right.
it's wide open, it's right to the property line.
okay.
You know, every night when they offload it, you know, it's like clockwork, it's ready to dust. Gets chunked around,
Yeah.
chunked around.
Okay.
That's what we're trying to change.
Yeah.
Anything else?
But we
Do
can.
we wanna
Uh,
make any motion?
You want me to make a motion?
If you
Again.
want to.
All I have, I don't have to make it with conditions like,
No,
like what we
just
talked about, that's just what we're gonna
No.
do, right?
Yeah, just
Okay.
continue.
So I can make a motion that we continue this to the
November 20th.
November 20th.
November 20th, is it?
20th, yeah.
20th meeting?
I'll second that.
Motion made by Jeff, seconded by Stanley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the meeting is continued till November 20th at 7 o'clock
Yep,
at
Sounds
here,
good.
and there will be no further notice.
yep. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now,
You can never say it's gonna be a short meeting.
that was, oh, did you too? Me too. Good job. I knocked on wood, did you? So it's your fault.
No, it's my fault.
A
The
little
only
bit.
other
It's
thing
my
we
fault. It was my fault
have,
last time. It was a 20-minute meeting too.
Did you say you're not here in November?
perfect.
I'll be here for that, the 20th, not anything.
All right, so we have a notice of a voluntary lot merger.
Yep, so, Vernon and Susan Wilson, own land on Les Maurice Road, map 39, lot 15, and map 39, lot 15-1. They are going to, their original intention was for a family member to move on to that, it's not happening. They want to merge their lot back together. They submitted everything, they got approval, they have a mortgage, so they got the mortgage representative to sign, they have everything that they needed. I just need planning board members to, on a single line, sign and then write your name printed.
What was the map and lot number?
3915 and 3915-1.
3915?
Print and sign on one line.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Yeah, we screwed that up
Either
one time.
sign your name and then next to
Print
it,
it.
print on one line.
Did we do a subdivision on this?
Yes.
That's
Watch the first person, then we'll copy.
As long as she does it
Lindsay, you
right.
should have done a small-
Can't sign it.
you should have done a
Danielle,
sticky
don't
note.
mess this up.
Should have done a small sticky note.
I do mess
So if the first person screws it up, we
I
all
think
do.
the first time, nobody gave us any
No,
direction.
so I was like, here you go, have a good time.
Sign and print sign.
We ran out of lines.
We ran out of lines.
The only other thing is, reported ZBA, Patty and Matt Smith is a special exception for a setback reduction.
And there's one more, Michael Jakubowski for a special exception for a setback reduction on
Thank
Hardy.
On which road? Hardy?
Hardy.
Was there a board permit? No
No, it's
board
next week.
permit.
Next
No border permit? Nothing going
So,
on?
if there is nothing.
Hold on, can we get that signed
Yes.
during the meeting?
We're on the record.
We have to finish signing before we close the meeting.
But I don't want to not do it.
Right, that would be an issue.
This is just voting members?
Just voting members, please.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't let you sign it.
You sign, you sign.
So I can sign for something I wasn't there to
Oh, yeah, yeah,
acknowledge
this is
or
a-
approve
This
in
is
the
their-
first place?
Voluntary lot merger.
They're just merging the two back together.
You can,
This is it, sign away.
These are automatic
Unless you wanna
unless
look
it's
at
a zoning issue, basically.
Yeah.
This is,
Can I move to the next lines over here, or do I?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure, because I don't want to be the one to screw it up.
Don't worry, I'll be.
we agreed we were gonna follow each other as we were doing, and then when it got to him, we had
Yeah,
to change.
yeah, it's like, oh, watch, this, yeah. The guy who doesn't even want to sign it's gonna be the one to screw it up, right?
We're all watching.
Lindsay will kill
How do
you.
you spell my name?
we're not sure.
I don't think you wanted to say that.
A-S-F, never mind.
S-H-I.
Well, that was fun,
We
guys.
don't have to vote on it.
I don't know if that's the word I'd use.
On the what?
We never even opened the public hearing.
Oh, yeah,
You
you're
can
right.
continue what didn't
You
start.
can't continue what didn't start. Okay,
Exactly.
right. We don't do that very often. We
For
get a new
what?
one. I was just asking, we don't have to vote on this other Young, but she said we can't vote on it because we haven't opened it. We don't do that very often, so.
It's good I said that, or that guy would have been here.
Yeah, he would have waited all that time, saw all that.
What's that?
Who owns that cemetery?
It wasn't the first on the list, I'm like, why did I read this, just in case?
I don't know, but I was the first one to open it up 32 years ago.
I know you put some
40 years
steps,
ago.
but they need to
Yeah.
be fixed.
I cleaned out, I got trees in there that I cut down there.
I will look for a motion
What for?
Look over there.
Close.
Official, you can have
Can't,
it.
yeah,
Liz now.
nothing's
I'm
We're
done.
done.
Oh,
Oh, we're
to
done.
make a motion that we adjourn.
We quit, yeah.
Oh,
I'll
second.
it.
Did you say quit?
Motion made by Jeff, seconded by Alicia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay, 8:31.
Dinner time.
Just family.
So.
We all just voted.
Danielle.
We're done. Never come